of Kenya Power's strategic role within the Ministry of Energy and in the country generally, in terms of its mandate of providing reliable, adequate, and affordable energy, okay? And therefore playing the role of an enabler to sustainable economic growth and development. In recognition of this very critical role of Kenya Power, today I made my inaugural visit to Steamer Plaza, where Kenya Power is seated, I'm sure you know. And I had a meeting with the board of directors, led by the chairman, Madam Masinde. Okay? The directors and the senior management team led by the managing director, Mr. Siror. And later on, I had a chance also to address employees, a number of them. Okay? And thereafter, again, I had a chance, together with my team, including the PS, to visit the National Customer Call Center at Steamer Plaza before we drove to this National Control Center in Dandora, as a way of getting understanding of what goes on. The board of directors and management, of course, appraised me on the Kenya Power and Lighting Company's 5-year strategic plan, complete with its current level of implementation. This was meant to help me appreciate the company's work and its alignment of strategies, policies, projects, and programs in support of various national, county, and sectoral strategies, policies, and programs. Now, the engagement also delved on the various challenges experienced, which are normal, I'm sure you know, which are experienced by the institution, and legislative, policy, and operational initiatives that have been put in place or over which they are seeking support from other government agencies and departments to enable it to address them in a manner that resonates well with the aspirations and expectations of various stakeholders, and especially the consumers of Kenya Power product, which is electricity. As the interface between the ministry and the energy sector generally and the consumers or the customers, okay, in the entire value chain, expectations of the government and the key stakeholders put a very high demand on Kenya Power, its board, management, and staff, to ensure that their strategies, policies, processes, internal culture, and practices remain ethical, effective, and customer responsive, in a manner geared towards meeting and if possible, exceeding these stakeholders' expectations. The government, therefore, has reiterated its desire and commitment to the reform of strategic sagas, including KPLC, and for KPLC in particular, in order to transform it into an agile, technology adaptive, eco-friendly, ethical, and responsive, customer-centric institution, playing a leading role in the country's vision of transiting to total green energy by the year 2030, in line with our Vision 2030 agenda, which I'm sure we are all conversant with. And of course, while I noted and commended the board and the management team and staff for the good work so far done. They're doing an excellent job, both at Steamer Plaza and in the field, including this National Control Center. I did direct the board as a matter of urgency, and of course senior management, to embark on institutional reform pathway and report back to the ministry on a number of areas, which I will just summarize. Okay. One is on the area of improvement on operational efficiency, liquidity and balance sheet, to strengthen the institution and take it back to sustainable profitability. That we agreed, and there were very, very practical steps that the management and the board are going to take, and are taking already actually, towards that goal. Two is the implementation matrix, covering key projects and interventions with major impacts on the reduction of cost of energy to end users in the short and medium term. This matrix, of course, will include project challenges, resource requirements, timelines for completion, accountability, and expected outcomes. Three is on the area of technical and commercial loss reduction strategy, with timelines to reduce the current loss levels, which you know is about 24%. We are thinking if it can bring it down to the allowable level of 19.5% or thereabout, within 3 years, that will be fine. A report on technical, operational, human capital capacity of not just the National Control Center, but of the entire organization. We did agree on that, because as you know, this is a very, very sensitive and strategic institution that requires to be optimally staffed. It requires to be resourced optimally at all times. So we agreed that we shall look at the gaps where they exist and what measures we can take to fill those gaps. Okay. There's also number 5, which is the issue of customer service improvement strategy. We took quite some time at the call center. And I was impressed, by the way, by the kind of infrastructure that we have in place. I am sure a number of you are aware of the Kenya Pan Lighting call number, star
977 hash.
Star 977 hash. Or if you call directly, you just call 9771. And they will capture whatever issues or concerns you have. And they will cascade them to the relevant offices and persons, and they will be attended to by those responsible offices. We want actually to have that system reinvigorated and to have that process of engagement with the public made more efficient with time. Okay? And if it means employing more resources or deploying more resources, we have to do so, so that the customer or the people remain at the center of our strategy, through and through. And number 6, it was the issue of supply chain and logistics strategy that would address the supply of critical materials and equipment at every stage. And I'm here referring to equipment and materials such as transformers, electricity poles, electricity meters, and so on and so forth, cables and what have you, so that at every instance the supply and stocks of these equipment and materials meet the demand. Meet the demand with a possible reserve. Okay. I have addressed the issue of the human capital. I don't want to reiterate it or belabor the point. And of course, there are areas where we agreed that the Kenya Power will continue to engage with sister companies such as KETRACO, especially on the area of shading off some of the transmission functions and infrastructure to KETRACO. Okay? So, all in all, we had a very, very, very fruitful engagement, right from Steamer Plaza, the call center, customer call center, and now the National Control Center here in Dandora. And I am confident that these measures that we've agreed upon with the board and management of Kenya Power, if implemented to the fullest possible extent, will have a very, very positive impact in terms of the capacity of the institution to deliver on its mandate, to execute its mandate for the benefit of the people. But going forward, we'll be seeing more and more focus on the customer. In other words, Kenya Power has committed to enhance its communication processes so that at every one instance, there is that communication between the company and its end users, who are the customers. And there's a mechanism for harvesting feedback and acting on the same in a timely manner. In ability to address, as part of the measures that are going to address the issue of commercial losses, we put a lot of emphasis on the menace of illegal connections of electricity. And on this one, I want to appeal to the public generally to first and foremost understand that it is unpatriotic, it is illegal, and indeed risky for one to engage in illegal power connections. I want to appeal to the public that it is more beneficial not only to themselves as individual consumers, but also to the country as a whole, that we follow the right channels when seeking electricity connections, be it in our households or in industries or workplaces. On this, we shall be working together jointly as a ministry, as Kenya Power, and also as the public, so that we get to understand that in the long run, we are better off following the right channels and procedures when it comes to matter electricity connection. Thank you. It's true, indeed true that I've been vocal on power blackouts, just like every other Kenyan. And I'm not here to tell you that now blackouts will be a thing of the past. No. What I am here to tell you is that we have put in place measures and systems that would first and foremost mitigate against the blackouts. But if they happen, that there would be a system to respond swiftly to the blackouts and restore power in the shortest time possible. Okay? What happened on Friday, I think I said it before I traveled out, that there was a technical hitch in the grid. Okay? Specifically in Soswa.
Yes. In
Soswa. There was a malfunction of one of our equipment at Soswa station, which our very, very, very able engineers, team of very, very competent engineers, responded to swiftly. And you can actually agree with me that electric power was restored in a record time for the first time. Okay? So we intend to invest more and more in these systems and processes that will enable us to respond to such eventualities whenever they occur. Whenever they occur. What I want to assure the public is that we have got a competent team at the ministry and at Kenya Power that is going to take care of your interests when it comes to reliable, clean and safe electricity supply.
Waziri, when someone says you, they obviously want to know about the cost of power in the country, and we've had this conversation where IPPs have been, the National Assembly and other stakeholders have been trying to renegotiate the prices that IPPs charge for power. What's your take on that? How far are we with that? And how soon should we see the cost of power go down?
Well, the cost of power is, of course, a major concern not only to Kenyans, but almost everybody else in the region. What we have in place is a strategy, okay, in the short, medium, and long term to deal with the matter of the cost of power. In the short term, and I've said, one of the issues to address is commercial losses. If we can deal with the commercial losses, which to a large extent are also caused by this pilferage of power, if I may call it so, or illegal connections, we shall have addressed to a very large extent the matter of the cost of power. Because these losses are eventually loaded onto the cost of power to the consumer. That's very short term. Two, we are expanding what we call baseload. That may take some time, but as you will see in the coming months and a year, we want to embark on developing our geothermal resource in Olkaria, in Menengai, in Paka and Silali, okay? That would, of course, increase the amount of power being generated from this very reliable and friendly, clean source of power, which is geothermal. Once you do that, you shall rely less and less on the intermittent sources of power, which you know is solar and wind and what have you. Okay? We are also continuing to invest in infrastructure, both at the generation level, in fact, at the generation level by Kenyan, and at the transmission level by Ketraco. That once Ketraco and other power generators are able to generate the power, we shall have had the opportunity to transmit it, to evacuate it in an efficient manner. And this can only happen if we have in place proper infrastructure, which we are actually working on as we speak. As a matter of fact, Kenya Power has already put in place some stopgap measure on Bomet-Narok route, awaiting the completion of the Bomet-Narok-Ketraco transmission line. Okay? So we are doing all this with the objective, our objective of reducing the cost of power, but also more importantly, of assuring steady supply of power to consumers.
Thank you, CS. Allow us.
On top of your list on some of the things that you're going to look into?
Our operational and maintenance team is very alert out there. And maintenance is a continuous process. It will never end. Today is sinking poles. Tomorrow is overgrown trees, bringing problems on our lines. And I want to appeal to the public also on the matter of trees. If you see my team from Kenya Power coming to cut down those trees or branches of trees, please bear with us. As Kenya Power and as a ministry have got a very, very robust forestation plan. And we have been given, actually allocated by the government specific areas to plant in the country. And we are moving steadily in terms of that forestation exercise. So whenever you see Kenya Power team trying to suggest that you allow them to cut down the trees or the branches of trees, please understand that it's basically meant to ensure that you get a steady supply of power. Yeah.
Okay.
I have two questions.
Can you introduce your name and the media house?
Okay. So my name is Jasmine from Citizen TV. I have a question for the PS and maybe even the CS can take it. Number one is we'd want to get an overview of the investments that are currently underway in the energy sector. And then number two, we have been seeing on social media that there's scheduled blackouts. What are they called?
Maintenance.
Yes. And for instance, today we're seeing there's parts of Juja Town, Jikwat, that are without power from 9 a.m.
Last mile alone, we have about 42 billion that we are rolling out.
Yeah.
On Ketraco, that is on transmission, we have about 18 billion that we are rolling out. And that is beside the maintenance or O&M that is done by KPLs.
Yeah.
So overall, we have in excess of about 64 billion shillings that we are working with. That is on infrastructure development alone.
Thank you.
Before you go, the many reason why people steal power is because they were ready for installation, but then you delayed because.
Okay, on the issue of the numerous information that we pass to the public about outages in certain areas, this is really in line with our very serious commitment to ensure that the quality of supply is going to be maintained. So when we do see that there are some leaning poles or there are some things that need to be undertaken, then we do issue them out, because we do believe, as a very cardinal principle, that prevention, and it really works in the power sector, is always better than the repairs. When you do, and I really want to echo also what the CS was saying about the need to remove the trees out of the trees. 50 to 70% of the outages that are localized are actually caused by trees which are close to the lines.
Yes.
I do remember, and I've received a few phone calls, where people really resisted our efforts to remove the trees on the trees. But once we removed them, they again got back to us and told us, thank you so much. Because since you removed them, we've hardly had any outage. So all the information that we are passing out to the public on the outages is all related to our maintenance efforts to ensure that we have a stable, we want to keep the lights on. And that's our commitment, and we do that from a preventive perspective. Thank you.
Investments.
And maybe the PS can give us
Investments.
an overview of the investments that are carrying in the energy sector.
Aware that there was a time Kenya Power was unable to procure critical materials.
Yes.
That is about 1.5 years ago. And I do remember, even as of September last year, we had 247,000 people who had paid up for meters to be, for meters, and yet Kenya Power had not been able to procure them and install them by virtue of the litigation that you have correctly put. We did embark, and indeed with the support of the board and the ministry, and also in terms of even the courts also expediting the litigations, we have been able to procure all the meters. So right now, if that was the excuse in the past, it's no longer the case. We have adequate supply of meters at the moment. Yes, even for transformers, we are almost there. We may just be missing a few, but we are up to speed in terms of getting all these materials to actually address these issues. Whereas it could be as an excuse in the past, it's no longer the case. We now have the materials, and we can do those connections and undertake the works that are necessary within the short time possible. Thank you.
So before you forget, as you leave, remember these numbers. Please capture them.
Star 977
Star 977 hash.
And the other side for
And when you want to call directly,
977
97771. If you did this, rest assured your issues, your concerns, your complaints will be attended to in the shortest time possible by our able and competent team at the customer call center and also in the company generally. Asanteni sana. Asanteni sana. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Was it? You have to take
You want to see the
GIS.